Hey guys, Pickle here. Want to tell you about our 2018 draft loadout, which is going to be packed full of fantasy football help and knowledge to make you successful at your fantasy football draft as well as in season. You can get your pre-order currently on the Average Joe Nation via our Patreon account. Make sure you sign up there and get yourself pre-ordered. All right, let's get into today's show.
Welcome, Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. Fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light, go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host. I'm Pickle, and with me as always, Blackburn.
What up?
And Trimboli.
What's up?
Gotta get loose.
Gotta get loose for today's topic, the Fantasy Outsiders. So, today we've got some questions from you, the listeners. We also will discuss some minor fantasy news, but the main topic of today is the Fantasy Outsiders wide receiver edition. So, some of those late round wide receivers that you can get way rounds 9 through 13 or even later that have that potential wide receiver 2 upside by the year end. So, as always, don't forget to follow the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. All right, let's get into the simple fantasy news and notes for today.
Fantasy news and notes.
All right, fantasy news and notes presented by Body Armor Super Drink. Superior hydration for today's athlete. Check them out at drinkbodyarmor.com or your local convenience center.
Peach mango.
Peach mango. Water. First one out the gate. It's okay. I mean, it helps some people on the team, but Brandon Marshall has officially found a home. Not like that he actually bought one, but that he was signed by a team, and that would be the Seattle Seahawks. So a 1-year, $1.1 million deal with, from my understanding, a pretty good amount of incentive-based.
Yeah, it can go up to like $2.3 million.
That's not bad. So he could double it if he does well. Biggest key potential for him, upside-wise, for fantasy is the red zone targets to replace Jimmy Graham since they're no longer there.
They need somebody.
I mean, Doug Baldwin's going to be heavily favored in the passing game. From everything I'm hearing, Rashad Penny's going to be the big three-down back that they've been looking for.
He's going to be the biggest benefactor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Tyler Lockett's there, but they really don't have like a true big physical wide receiver tight end right now. I mean, I think Luke Wilson is that he's not with the Seahawks anymore. I was talking about Nick Vanette. That's who I was looking at.
Buckeye.
Wilson's with the Lions, isn't he?
Correct. So Nick Vanette, I think, is kind of a under the radar tight end who could be good, but he's not really a physical, athletic tight end. He's more of like the blocking tight end who can kind of get out in space and catch type stuff, but he's not going to be like the Jimmy Graham where he's just a bigger built tight end. So, but that was the big one for the week. Kareem Hunt has said that he is working on his receiving skills a little bit more, and he says he's catching the ball more and running a lot more routes.
That's good.
I think that helps his value to stay on the field all 3 downs.
Yeah.
I think that helps.
I think he's sensing the pressure.
I think he is. I mean, I think the Spencer Ware situation is kind of. I mean, it's got to be on his mind. I mean, if it's not, he's got like Zen-like mentality, but I'm just saying I have a hard time believing he doesn't know that there's pressure behind him with Spencer Ware being healthy now or going to be healthy this year. So do you think that this increases his value in any kind of way? I mean, I know we talked about it.
If he's going to be running routes and catching them, he proved last year he can catch the ball. He had that 75-yard when he was lined up in the slot touchdown. Yeah, absolutely. If he can catch the ball and be a 3-down back, yeah.
I mean, I think that's what we were talking about. Sorry. Wow.
Whoa.
Sorry about that.
He did the Bill Murray there.
Jeez. But yeah, I think that it helps him. But with Spencer Ware being there, I think that he needs to learn how to catch out of the backfield. Because, I mean, essentially that is what Charkandrick West, that's what his detail was. And he was successful with it last year. So Spencer Ware, I think, would come in and be the 3rd down back between him and Charkandrick initially until situationally based, whatever. But I think this helps Kareem Hunt. But I know that we are all kind of on different pages with where we think Kareem Hunt's going to be finishing by the end of the year. So
yeah, I think it doesn't increase or decrease for me. He's the same.
All right. Raiders running back Doug Martin aims to bounce back this season. Greg Olson, the OC there in Oakland, stated Martin has quickly picked up the offense and has his quickness back. Now, I still think it's a running back by committee situation.
Absolutely.
And I just think that Lynch and the other guys that are going to be in that backfield are going to be they're all going to be used in different ways, whether it's the receiving downs or the short yardage or the goal line or I need 7 yards here, so Doug go in, or I need a 2-yard touchdown on the goal line, Marshawn, you go in, or hey, we're down by 2 touchdowns, go ahead and get in there, Richard, and we'll go ahead and put you in the 3 down back spot. So
I think he's just going to call out a name, and that's who's going in.
Rosengarter.
Muscle hamster.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about no asthma.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtle reject.
It is.
I don't want to hear about no asthma. Let's see. Next one, we got Tevin Coleman to be featured more in the Atlanta Falcons offense this year. Coleman stated via the Falcons website that they are just going to use me more, lining up out wide and other stuff. I think this is very helpful to the value of Coleman, specifically for this year, but also going forward. We all said that this is his show me year. So
It's contract year.
Yep.
he's putting on a show, not for the Atlanta Falcons. He's putting on the show for his next team that's going to sign him. And I think he's going to be, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I think he's going to be one of the bigger free agents going into this offseason.
Absolutely. He's a beast.
He's shown that he can be the guy when he has to be, when there's not a Freeman, or even when Freeman's been in there. He has shown that he can come in and handle the same workload that Devonta Freeman does on a day in and day out basis. So, and the thing is, I think the tread on the tires are a little bit less worn out compared to Freeman, who's a little bit older. Coleman's a couple years younger, and he's not been used volume wise as much, but he's still producing very well. So,
I think Coleman's only 26.
Yeah, they're both young.
I think Freeman's like 28, I think. 27 or 28.
They can't afford to pay everybody.
No. Well, no, and Julio is
Right.
not wanting to be undervalued or underpaid either, so they're going to have to pay Julio. I have a hard
They
time.
just paid Freeman. They just paid Matt Ryan. I mean, there's not that much money left.
No.
Just pay no defensive players.
Nope, we're just going to go ahead and load up on the offense.
Everyone's playing 2 ways today.
But I got to point out that there is other mouths to feed in that offense with Julio, Freeman, Sanu, Hooper, and the newbie Ridley coming in. I think there's just a lot of guys. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Matt Ryan can distribute the ball fine. Just with Sarkisian being the OC, you just never know which wide receiver not named Julio is going to be the main guy. I really think that you're going to have weeks where Sanu is the wide receiver 2 volume-wise on the Falcons, and I think there's going to be weeks where Ridley's the number 2. I think it's just going to be game script and depending on what the defense gives and who they're lining up with. But, I mean, ultimately, you know Julio's going to be the guy. You know that Freeman's going to be the guy. You know Coleman's going to come in apparently at times, and maybe he's going to line up in that slot position at times. Who knows? It just sounds like they're trying to get Coleman out on the field with Freeman as much as possible, which is literally exactly what Steve Sarkisian wants. He wants all of his running backs playing at the exact same time, and if he could put if he could hand the ball off to Freeman and throw the ball to Coleman on the same play, he would do that. That's his deal. So
Forte.
This forte, not
Matt.
Not Matt, but
I was thinking the same thing.
So that's all we got for the news and notes. Not, like I said, not a whole lot going on, but we do have a couple questions that we got in our next segment, Take It or Leave It. So let's go ahead and get into that.
Take it or leave it.
All right, take it or leave it. The questions from you, the listeners. First one out the gate we got is going to be from Reed in Fargo. I'm assuming North Dakota.
That's what ND is, brother.
Well, I'm used to college ball, so
Notre Dame.
There you go. Echo in here. First question from Reed is going to be non-PPR, keep one player in the round you drafted him, so it's a round penalty draft is how it's for keeper purposes. Says, would you keep Gurley in the first or Kareem Hunt in the 5th round? I think pre-show we were talking about it, and I think we're all on the same page that you would take Kareem Hunt in the 5th round.
Yeah, because you still get a first-round pick, so you're still going to get a bona fide player, and you get Hunt in the 5th. That's great value.
Right. I mean,
that's a first rounder in the 5th.
Right.
Right.
Which I want to know how that happened.
Well, I think he probably took him last year.
One of our guys took him in the 7th.
Good point.
So
and he kind of lucked into it, with Ware going down. So
true. All right. Well,
you got lucky, Reed.
Speaking of luck, let's go ahead and get to that luck watch. Is he still throwing the ball?
No, I've not picked up the Duke and started throwing it yet, and don't want to skip steps. I'm trusting the process that I'm in right now very, very much. I'm trusting myself in this process. And when the time is right, I'll pick it up. There is a timetable, but I'm not going to share it with you guys.
Nope. No, he is not.
Well, look, if you trust the process, you're going to end up on the couch like Joel Embiid in the 76ers.
True.
Okay?
Nice.
We are 90.
I like that.
I like that cross sport reference. So we talked about 97 days till start of the season.
97 days, boys.
There is still no Andrew Luck throwing the ball. So,
Nope.
Anyways, all right, on to our next question. Dan Cornard. I had to make sure that it wasn't Conrad. I mistyped. It is Cornard.
Mm-hmm.
It says, who is the Green Bay running back to own if you had to take one? So
They want to know that too.
I think Green Bay, I think they all want to know. Mike McCarthy's wondering the same question. If I had to take one, if you're twisting my arm and says, hey, you got to draft one of these running backs in Green Bay, my draft pick is going to be for Aaron Jones. I mean, that's just me because I think when he was the starting running back, he looked really good as the starting running back, and I think that they haven't had a good, solid running back, like a true running back, since Amon Green was there. So, just saying, it's been a long time. When Brett Favre was a quarterback was when the last time I think they really had a good, solid running game, not heavy pass game like Aaron Rodgers has made that offense. So, if I had to pick one, Aaron Jones is the one. Now, if Aaron Jones isn't there, my next one to take would be Ty Montgomery. Then I think Jamal Williams is my third, just because he was good, don't get me wrong, but I think that Ty Montgomery has shown that he can carry the ball as a regular back, but also line up and kind of do the passing downs as well. Plus, he's not a bad pass blocker. That's the biggest thing. And Jamal Williams is not a very good passer. So I think that would be the one thing that would kind of set him back. So if you guys had your choice of where you had to take one, who are you taking?
I'm actually taking Jamal Williams.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm taking him early, and I'm not early in the draft, but I'll probably take him for the, you want him for the first couple of weeks, and then who knows what's going to happen.
True, I guess.
I'll take Mason Crosby.
That is good. He has lined up in the backfield sometimes.
Screw that backfield. I'm not taking any one of these running backs at all.
Yeah, I'm not recommending going after anyone.
No, I would.
It's a wait and see approach.
Yeah, Dan, I would not. I think we all agree we would not take any of these running backs. But if you had to, it's kind of a roll of the dice. As you can see, not one of us agree with the other. So, I think Mike McCarthy's probably in the same boat as us. Now, Valerie Bays writes this kind of question, but this reference to the Jets backfield. Who's the New York Jets running back to own if you're going to take one?
In standard leagues, you take Crowell. In PPR, you take Bilal Powell. Simple.
Yep.
I like Crowell. I think he's got the potential in the standard style draft, even maybe half PPR as well. But once you get into the full PPR, I think that you're going to be leaning more towards Bilal Powell setup. So Elijah McGuire is there. So if Bilal Powell or Crowell gets hurt, he would be the guy that would kind of slide in to kind of take over to help out whichever back was still in there in that backfield. But I think that's kind of how we all agreed where we would pick if we had the choice of taking them. Now Ryan Miner out of Detroit, Michigan, Detroit City. I feel like wasn't that a Kiss song?
Detroit Rock City.
Here you go. See, I knew he would know that.
Full of knowledge.
Love Kiss. It's my favorite band, by the way.
You know what? Boom knowledge.
Boom knowledge.
What first round player is the most likely to bust for fantasy purposes?
It's tough.
There are a lot of guys in that group, and they all have good situations, essentially, and good offenses that they're really going to be featured in. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint one. If Kareem Hunt was in that group, I would say Kareem Hunt, but he is now ADP-wise moved just outside the top 12 in a 10-man league, both standard and PPR. He's going early second round now, so he's not an option. So who do you have as the guy that you would say is most likely to be a potential bust?
It's not going to be popular, but none of these guys are in the first round.
No.
But Saquon Barkley. He's a rookie. He's coming into a garbage O-line. And
well, rebuild, but, I mean, they only really added one guy.
I don't care. They got destroyed last year.
True.
But I like Barkley, and I think he's going to do well, but I just think compared to everybody else that was on that list with Gurley, Bell, Zeke, David Johnson, he's the odd man out for me.
True.
It's only because you haven't seen him play yet.
Exactly.
It's all potential right now. That's exactly why I'd probably lean Barkley too.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this, because
But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think
No,
it'll be
no.
a bust,
I'm just saying, but compared to everybody else,
Right,
Barkley's the odd man out.
I agree.
I mean, every year there is one of the top player, or well, I mean, being ADP wise being drafted does finish outside. I guess has the potential to have finished bust wise.
Last year was my number 1 pick, Mike Evans.
True. So I don't know. Most first round. Yeah, I mean, let me ask you this: if Saquon is going into the situation last year, like Zeke did, or not last year, but 2 years ago, where Zeke rolled into the best offensive line in the NFL, I think the question mark would be taken off of Saquon. The thing is, they have rebuilt the O-line with Solder and drafting Hernandez, but they still have to figure out they've not played together on the field. They're going to have to figure out and gel and learn on the go, and camp is going to help that. But I just think if Saquon was coming into an established offensive line, a secure offensive line, I think we wouldn't be having this question of, well, Saquon
who
has
else
to be.
would you, who else would you pick?
That's my point. I think this makes it easy because the offensive line and what he's going to have to play behind makes it easier, in my opinion, to pick Saquon because there's unknown behind him because he is a rookie. Yes, tendency has shown the last 2 years rookies have been the rushing leaders. However, Saquon is not going into the same situation that Kareem Hunt went into or that Ezekiel Elliott went into. So I just think don't get me wrong, I think Saquon can be a first-round ADP finisher. I mean, he could projection-wise,
Hey,
but
we're not saying that. We're just saying compared to everybody else.
more likely chances, I guess.
I think either way, even if he was drafted to the Cowboys, the best offensive line, I think, unfortunately, we're taking the easy way out here with taking Barkley as our potential bust.
Right.
We haven't seen him play yet.
Well, I'm not taking any of the first 4 running backs, and I'm not taking Brown or Hopkins.
So I wouldn't either.
Or OBJ.
Right. So
he's there.
Unfortunately, he's the odd man out in the group.
But tell you what, I'm still taking him in the first round.
He is going right in that. I mean, obviously his ADP. I mean, he's going. I've seen him as high as 1.5 and as low as 110.
Man, 5.
1.5 is a little rough.
I've seen him actually. I've seen people take him in mock drafts that I've looked at. I've seen people take him right there around Zeke, David Johnson. I've seen some people take him over David Johnson and Zeke.
And over Kamara too?
Yeah,
over
Kamara, over Brown, over Hopkins.
I've seen him taken as the number 3 running back behind Gurley and Bell.
Ooh, man.
It's some drafts. I'm not saying consistently, but I have seen him as high as that.
Talk about the hype.
But the hype is real. All right, now I'm not going to be able to say his name. I'm going to say Thsaer, so Thasser.
I think the S is silent, so we're going to go
Thayer. There you go. I like that. Thayer with a silent S. I'm sorry if you do have an S in your name and it is pronounced.
Well, he does. It's right here.
Pronounced. All right. The question is, what team will have the most fantasy relevant wide receivers by season end? So I'm assuming by the question he means duo wise. So like Diggs and Thielen was one of them from a couple years ago or 2 years ago that had like the high and the low and everything else. So who do you guys have as your dynamic duo that could potentially finish in that? We'll not say wide receiver ones, but one of them finishes
the
best duo by combo, like point wise, by the end of the season.
No, my number 1's Minnesota.
Okay, so Minnesota. So you still think Thielen and Diggs are the high end combo? Okay, who do you got?
Houston
I got with
Hopkins and Fuller.
I'm
all aboard that Houston train.
He is.
You are so on board with that. I mean, I'm on board as well, but you are literally the conductor in that train right now.
Oh yeah, I built the railroad and everything.
Right over the bridge.
Listen,
we're going. We're going to the ship.
It's gonna veer left right off that thing too.
It's gonna go right off. No. For me, I know this might be out of left field, but I just look at the teams with 2 talented wide receivers and guys who are playing for contracts potentially for next year on different teams. Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders.
No. Not with Case Keenum.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Sorry, bro.
Case Keenum produced Adam Thielen, and if Diggs would have been healthy, I'm just saying, and they got a better offensive line.
You gonna have enough touchdowns?
I'm just saying they don't really have a good tight end. They drafted young wide receivers to fill in post this year because Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders will probably likely get cut and or traded at some point. They have a young running back that they drafted. I'm just saying with Royce Freeman. So I think Case Keenum.
I mean, he could. I just think I don't know. I think Keenum was overhyped. I think Minnesota's good defense carried them last year.
Right.
And he made plays when he needed to, but we seen what happened in the Philly game where he lost a fumble for a touchdown and threw a pick six. That was the real Case Keenum.
True.
I agree.
But, I mean, I went with an outsider group that I thought that.
I mean, I like it. It could, yeah, you're right.
I mean, I don't want to say like the dark horse or whatever, but like I think that these guys could be potentially a sleeper dynamic duo.
Well, that's also just thinking in my head after you said that was the Lions
Yeah.
with Jones and Tate.
Yeah.
Jones,
I mean, Jones
Tate,
was top 5 last
Galladay.
year.
Yeah.
So,
I also like for sleeper. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but Oakland, Jordy Nelson, Amari Cooper. Cooper had a bad year last year, obviously.
True.
But Derek Carr didn't have the greatest year either. He was hurt all, up and down. And if Jordy can stay healthy, they can complement each other.
I mean, it was the year that Carr and Cooper and Crabtree were all being like high flyers, successful in the fantasy perspective. I mean, you could see that again with the same. I mean, minus Crabtree, you just plug in Nelson's name.
Right.
So I mean, there's a potential there. So.
But yeah, Houston all the way.
All right. Boss Up, last question says, which team has the best odds to have a QB1, a running back 1, a wide receiver 1, and a tight end 1 at season's end, regardless of scoring format?
First of all, that's never, ever going to happen.
Yeah, but I love this question.
It is a good question.
I do. I think it's a far-fetched possibility, but there are teams that could fall into that spot.
But we all have a general consensus.
Yeah.
We think Vikings have the best chance to do it.
Right, and I mean, I think the reasons why is because you have the quarterback that you have with Cousins, the wide receivers Thielen, Diggs, you got Cook, you've got Rudolph. I mean, there is a lot of talent
right there.
Right.
And Cousins likes to throw the ball. He likes to spread the ball around, and I mean, I just think that with the upgrade of talent, what he did with the guys that he had in Washington, I think this is an upgrade offensively that he's going to.
Absolutely.
So I think this is a good thing. I mean, they have, I think we rank them as the highest potential to do this. Now, we did each pick like a sleeper team. Who did you have as your sleeper team?
It's not going to be popular, but the Giants.
The Giants.
And my only question mark would be Eli. If he could get to QB1.
But when's the last time Eli had this many good weapons? You got
I agree.
OBJ, you got Sterling Shepard, Ingram, Saquon Barkley. I mean, there's weapons there.
True. This is probably his most talented team. So the window is open for the Giants. As a Dallas fan, I hate to say this, but for the Giants to be successful this year, if that defense could get back into that top 5 performance, I think they quit and they just gave up because that offense was trash and they were getting tired of carrying the offense every week.
Yep.
So I think if the defense can get back to that top 5 potential, which a lot of the pieces are still there, and the offense starts get going, I think that Barkley, if that offensive line gels well quickly, they could be potential. I mean, I agree with you. I think they're kind of the under the radar team that could potentially do it. Who is your sleeper?
Again, not popular, but based on potential wise, I like Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay does have
Jameis
talent.
Winston. There's no reason why he shouldn't be a top 12, top 15 quarterback.
Right.
Ronald Jones, the rookie coming in, he can make an impact. He can be a 3-down back. You got Mike Evans, who led the league in receiving 2 years ago.
True.
And Cameron Brate, who's very underrated tight end.
I mean, even if it's Cameron Brate or O.J. Howard, either one of them, interchange any one, they could either one of those tight ends could be a top 12, depending on how they're used in the offense by Winston.
But there's no reason for them to be struggling as much as they were last year. That's ridiculous.
No, that was what was so mind-boggling as a fantasy person. You're just like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
What happened? Where'd the wheels fall off?
It's Winston between his ears.
It
That's
is.
What happened.
He lost composure, honestly.
Gotta keep our composure.
Keep your composure. For me, I did put the Chiefs, and the weak link in that group for me is Mahomes. And it's not because I don't think Mahomes is not good. It's just the unknown. I think that the offense, we're hearing what they're wanting to do. They're wanting to get the ball down the field more with Watkins and Hill, and kind of keeping Kelsey as the underneath kind of safe net. Kareem Hunt apparently is wanting to get into the passing game or the receiving game as well. So, I mean, they have the option to be, but the uncertainty of what Mahomes can do, I guess the unknown. If it was Alex Smith stepping in, I think, to me, it wouldn't be so much of a sleeper. I think it would be an easy pick to be like, yep, Chiefs have the potential to be top 12 quarterback, top 12 running back, 12 wide receiver, tight end, because they could. But with the unknown of Mahomes, I just think that's the weak link in this group.
Another sleeper here that we missed, New Orleans. Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Kamara,
and we're looking at that tight end.
Ben Watson.
But what's the difference? Okay, we don't know what's in the Chargers. What
True.
about the Chargers? You got Keenan Allen, Rivers, Gordon, and then we have a question mark at tight end.
Gates, I guess, if he's back.
So-
But
There's lots of teams that you could do.
Right.
Houston.
Carolina's another one.
Yeah, Carolina's
We just
a good
don't know
one.
that. I mean, unfortunately, their number one wide receiver is their tight end. so-
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Yeah, there you go.
I
The
mean,
whole NFC South could be in this group.
now I threw out a really, really deep sleep, like melatonin sleeping team, and that's gonna
Bengals.
Cleveland.
the Bears.
See, it was a B.
Same. It was a different team. It wasn't the Bengals or the Browns or the Bears. Trubisky is the weak link. I think Allen Robinson can be good. I think that Jordan Howard can be good. I think it's the same situation that Tampa is dealing with, whether it's Trey Burton or Adam Shaheen. I think either one of them could be potentially a top 12 tight end. It's Trubisky, and with Nagy being the head coach now, he did mold and take Alex Smith and make him to one of the most consistent quarterbacks, proficiency-wise and performance-wise. So if he can get Trubisky to kind of go down that same path, I think that's an option, a potential. But
Right.
I think it's interesting that the Bears and the Chiefs were in both mine, and they both have the question mark at the quarterback position, which is kind of the
Usually it's the tight end
nucleus.
that's the question.
So-
But boss up, to answer your question, Vikings is probably the best way to go.
True.
I'd love to circle back at the end of the year with this question.
True. I'll have to make note of this so we can come back to this at the end of the year and see who was the closest to do it. So, all right. Let's get into the final one today, the Fantasy Outsiders Wide Receiver Edition.
You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. All hail the Outsiders.
All right. This week's topic is the Fantasy Outsiders Wide Receiver Edition, presented by Fantasy Fateball, the one and only Magic 8-Ball for fantasy football. 20 custom answers to help you make those critical start-sit decisions in the Sunday morning agony. And head over to fantasyfateball.com. Use the promo code HATEFUL8 for $5 off your purchase. So,
Hey, Chico.
hey, yo. Felt like I said that like Rocky. Anyways. That was a horrible rendition of Scott Hall. I apologize, Scott. So we've got the Fantasy Outsiders. So these are guys that we're looking at rounds 9 through 14, 15, even as late as that had the potential to be wide receiver 2 upside for your fantasy teams later. I mean, by the year end. So you're drafting them way late right now, but they're guys that you're looking at that potentially could be your wide receiver too. He's got cross-eyed over trying to make me laugh. So I'll let Trimboli go first with his guy. So who is your outsiders for the wide receivers?
I'm going to stay with the guy I've been with like this whole offseason.
Yeah?
You are going cross-eyed.
He is.
And I'm going with Marquise Goodwin. His ADP right now is 10th round, so that's why I really like him.
Wow.
You're getting him late.
Still 10th round.
I know.
This far into the draft. I mean, we're post-NFL draft. I mean, they kind of know who they've got, who they don't, and they must think that Dante Pettis is going to be somebody.
Right.
Garcon's like 8.
Whatever.
Crazy.
All right, go ahead.
Well, I think with Jimmy G and the Kyle Shanahan offense, there's enough for multiple wide receivers to do well.
True.
So really, I just like his 105 targets last year. I mean, he's got volume, he's got a place in this offense, so that's why I think he'll have enough to make it potentially to a wide receiver too.
Okay. Who is your second wide receiver?
This one's a little harder.
Not a fan favorite.
No, but he's always had the potential. He's on his contract year for his rookie contract.
Yeah.
It's Devontae Parker.
no Landry, who is the target monster there.
160 targets are now gone.
He averaged, I think I looked it up, 140 targets a year for his career there in Miami. Landry.
Yeah.
But last year was 100, I think 60 something, right?
Right. Well, that's really
They got to go somewhere.
and that's my sell.
Right? I mean, they got Amendola, they've got Albert Wilson, but I mean, those guys they've never been a.
Is still there?
Stills
Yeah,
is there,
Stills.
but those guys are complimentary guys. Those guys are not the target monster.
Well, how about this? He missed 3 games. Parker did. Now listen, it wasn't even a great year. He still got 96 targets. I mean, he's got a place in that offense too. And now with 160 targets up in the air, I don't think he's going to get them all, but
No.
he'll get a chunk.
But I will say though, what we found out is Tannehill and him gel well.
Right.
Where non-Tannehill quarterbacks seem to favor Landry more so, or if you're Matt Moore, you like Kenny Stills. Stills.
Right, but Parker's is still health. I mean, if he can stay healthy.
He's one guy that I'm just surprised and kind of disappointed that he has not transferred and transitioned into being what he could be.
When your starting quarterback's hurt every year and you go out and get Jay Cutler, who literally stands on the field during plays and does nothing.
Cutler did drive down his numbers.
Yeah.
Well,
he's just unfortunately he went to a wrong offense.
Right.
I think if he goes somewhere else in free agency, we could see a boost.
A better passing offense, maybe.
Yeah.
So
true.
So all right.
Well, those are my two outsiders.
All
I
right.
like it.
Do you want me to go or do you want to go?
I'll go.
All right. I like how he just takes the lead and says, "I'll
roll.
I'll roll. You go."
It's his show, not yours.
It is. It's always. I love it. Go ahead.
Anywho, Will Fuller is my first guy. Now, he only played 10 games last year, but he only played 4 with Deshaun Watson before he went out with ACL. Okay. Here's his stats. During the 4 games, he had 50 targets all year, 22 with Watson.
Okay.
423 yards all year, 280 with Watson. 7 touchdowns and averaged 23 yards per catch with Watson. And once Watson exited, so did Will Fuller.
Will Fuller took a seat too. Unless your name was Hopkins, everyone took a seat.
Right. Savage is just that's all he did.
Man.
But I mean, Fuller was he was the number 6 wide receiver in
that was
fantasy
his high, yeah.
For that 1 month. Right. And then after that, he just kind of imploded. But Watson's on schedule to come back this year, be good. Hopkins is there to complement him. He's going to be drawing double teams. Fuller's going to be ready to go. He finished wide receiver 48 last year, and his ADP right now is 810.
Ooh, not bad.
Wide receiver 33. So you can get him late, and I feel like if Watson can stay healthy, I think Fuller can produce, and he can be a wide receiver too easily.
So top 25, but he's being drafted as the 43rd wide receiver right now?
33rd.
33rd, so he's got to move up a couple spots. But, I mean, at the one point we talked about it last year, at one point when Watson was in, you had Watson was a top 5 quarterback. You had Hopkins was a top 5 wide receiver.
Top 3.
Top 3, and then you had Fuller, who was a 6th, and then you had Lamar Miller was actually a running back 1 at one point.
After the Seattle game, when they went into Seattle and just destroyed them,
yeah.
Hopkins was number 1 wide receiver. Fuller was 6.
Watson
was number 1.
And then I think Miller was like 9 or 10,
Yeah, it was like 11, somewhere around there.
Still, that's crazy that I mean, we talked about that in that question. I mean, that's literally being able, a quarterback in that offense was able to sustain 4 essentially top 5 in their own positions almost.
And their next 3 games after that, before his freak injury, was Colts, Cardinals, and some other sorry team. I mean, I'm just saying, I like it. I'm
not as sold on him.
I know you're not.
I like him where you can get him at. Don't get me wrong. I love him in the 8th, 9th round. But he
is a touchdown
dependent. That's what scares me.
If
he's averaging 23 yards, I mean, I don't know.
Well, no.
You just look at the quarterback though.
Yeah,
true.
That's only 4 games.
I mean,
with Watson, once Savage went in, he just disappeared.
That wasn't even like the all-star dinner or breakfast at Denny's. That was just a small, that was just the hash browns.
Yeah, he didn't even get chunked. It was like Thanos snapped his fingers, and Will Fuller was like, I don't feel good. And just faded away. You know? I mean, that's what happened.
Right.
Did he just do that, Thanos? Oh, I don't feel good.
That's an Avengers reference for you guys that don't know about that.
Yes.
Anyways, there's not enough for me to be totally
I know. It's a small
board.
Sample size. Right. You're right. But what I saw in 4 games, I absolutely loved.
But like I said, I will go back. If you can still get him in the 8th, 9th round.
Definitely.
Because of his touchdowns, what he did, if he can continue this, yes, you're getting a steal. Yeah. I agree with you on that one.
So,
all right.
Who is the second choice?
My next guy is not popular, but he's got potential, basically because he's the only guy there. It's Kelvin Benjamin.
Oh, my goodness.
Last year he played in 14 games with 2 different teams. He's the only reliable weapon right now besides Clay.
True.
In my opinion.
Zay Jones is not even he's not going to be ready till the season starts, and he's not getting in the practice time with the new quarterback.
No.
So.
And we've already talked about McCoy being on the decline.
Yeah.
So throwing options for McCarron or Josh Allen, whoever starts, it's going to be Kelvin Benjamin. He's a big target.
True.
He finished wide receiver 46 last year. He had 48 receptions, 692 yards, and 3 touchdowns with the Panthers and Bills.
Man.
So it's not good. But main thing for this is volume.
True.
I mean, there's nobody else.
No.
Right.
In his ADP right now, he's 10th round, 5th pick, wide receiver 39.
Not bad. Man, I tell you what, he's like the epitome of that meme gif where that like cartoon dog is sitting in the fire and he's like, I'm all right. I'm all right. He's just hoping that they get a quarterback that will throw the ball to him. And
They hope his line can keep a quarterback.
Well, that's the key, the line. They've lost 3 key pieces.
Oh, jeez.
So that's my only scare here, but I do agree. You're right. Volume. I mean, I love when a guy's going to have a ton of volume.
I mean, he's it.
So
it's him and Clay. I mean,
especially if
that's
Josh Allen gets the start, he just throws that deep ball. Throw it up to the 6'5" guy.
Well, see, and this is how you should be looking at these players in this part of the draft is do they have volume?
upside. That's why we said wide receiver 2 upside for a reason. So
Last year we called it Adam Thielen.
true. I mean, that was a good one. I mean, you called that early on and said just volume alone, and there's so much potential for him to be in that top 10 potential. So, now
Who's your guys?
for me, it's one. Julian Edelman is the first one.
Love it. I love it.
He's coming off of a complete ACL tear and to his right knee, which does, and he's in the 30 club. So I mean, he's there. So it is a little scary. You're like, oh my gosh, this guy's not. He's old. He's a wide receiver. He's coming off of a knee ACL tear. However, though, he is the wide receiver 1 to Tom Brady. So that is enough right there. No more Brandon Cooks. No more Danny Amendola. You still have Malcolm Mitchell and Hogan who are going to fight for that wide receiver 3 because, in my opinion, you've got Edelman's going to be your wide receiver 1 target-wise. Gronk's going to be your wide receiver 2 target-wise. And then it's going to be Malcolm Mitchell and
I like Hogan. I think he's
like
going to have
Hogan.
a decent year.
I think that, but I think in some fashion it's going to be those 2 guys fighting for that 3rd spot.
Edelman's going to be the lead guy and the chain mover.
True. So since becoming the full-time starter, which was 2013, I put that he has averaged 133 targets and 89 receptions for 956 yards. He's getting around 11 yards per reception. So for every time he catches the ball, you're getting 1.5 to 2 points, depending on your scoring setup. And 5 receiving touchdowns for a total of 103 fantasy points averaging a year. So,
and that was with other players.
True, around him. And this is now, he is the guy, essentially. In that span, finished as high as the wide receiver 19 and as low as wide receiver 37, but that was only in 9 games where he only played 9 games because of an injury. So, now, 2017 targets that left, I mentioned Cooks, Amendola, and Dion Lewis. You've got 114 from Cooks. Amendola was 84. Now, I think a lot of that was kind of boosted because of Edelman being gone.
It was.
And Hogan being injured at one point. But Lewis, I think that's going to be going to Sony Michel. So,
I do too.
But if you just take Amendola and Cooks' makeup and you put that together and you spread it out equally between him and Gronk, I mean, he's still going to be a heavy targeted wide receiver in that offense. So, big thing is current ADP 901 as the wide receiver 35. So I have him ranked currently in standard. I've got him as my wide receiver 23. Now I've got him right around 21, 22 for PPR just because of the targets. I think that boosts him up a little bit inside that top, right around that 20-ish spot. But wide receiver 23 is not a bad spot to be, especially when you're drafted as a wide receiver 35 right now. So,
absolutely.
But I mean, Tom Brady's going to throw the ball, and him and Brady have that chemistry, and I think you saw that lack last year. I mean, he did do well with Cooks and Amendola stepping in, and Dion Lewis kind of picked up the pace a little bit. But, I mean, I just think that with Edelman back, I think this is going to be helpful to Brady and to Edelman themselves. So, now this one's the late sleeper choice. Michael Gallup might come across as like a homer, but when I tell you why, this guy.
Sorry. He's quick on
that. No, I appreciate that. I was waiting for one of you guys to make a sound effect, but
that's good.
So was the 2018 draft pick for the Cowboys at wide receiver, 3rd round, 17th pick. So still early on in the draft. Now they did pass up on DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley and some of these guys, and took a linebacker to fill in for Sean Lee, essentially.
Von der Bosch or whatever.
Yeah, the guy from Rocky 4. Drago. And then they ended up taking a
if he dies, he dies.
If he dies, then he dies. And then they took jeez.
He's on point today.
He is on point. And then they went and took Michael Gallup, like I said, in the 3rd round. So they passed up on some of the bigger tiered wide receivers. But coming into a run-first offense, there is no true wide receiver 1. Dez Bryant is no longer there. He was the wide receiver 1 on the team. So no more with Dez Bryant, no Jason Witten. So those targets have got to be pushed to somebody. Terrence Williams went on his Grand Theft Auto driving spree last couple weeks ago. So he's potentially suspended to start the year. I know that there's, he's not in trouble with the league at the moment. Well, I'm just going to tell you, he's probably going to be suspended minimum 1 game, probably his high ceiling is about 4 games. I'm saying 1 to 4 games. So, but definitely from everything Jerry Jones has said, he has the chance to be a week 1 starter, which is crazy to think for a guy who's just coming into the offense. But now, for 2017 targets that are no longer on the team, Dez, even though he did have a down year, had 132 targets. Witten was 87 targets, so that's got to be pushed to somebody. And Alan Hurns has never averaged more than 100 in his career, other than the biggest year he had was that 2014 or 2015 year where him and Allen Robinson were just blowing it up in the Jaguars offense. But since then, he's never hit 100 receptions or targets since then. So. Then Dak's passing attempts in 2016, he had 459. 2017 went up to 490. Obviously, that was because Ezekiel Elliott was not in there, so he had to throw the ball more. So if you take the high and the low, the average for that is 477 passing attempts. Not bad. He's not in the top 20 for passing for quarterbacks, though. It's still a run-first offense.
Right. I think he's only like 100 yards shy, though, in 2016 than he was in 17.
Yeah.
So
the yardage was still there. It just was he had to throw the ball a little bit more. Now, in the 2 seasons that Dak has been the quarterback, he was able to carry a wide receiver 2 in that time frame, and both were Dez Bryant. Even though we talk about Dez Bryant being awful and slipping and not being a guy, no, he was not a wide receiver 1. However, in 2016, he finished wide receiver 24, and even last year, in his even worse of a year, 2017, he finishes the wide receiver 25. So right there at that wide receiver 2 line. And Dez caught, I know he dropped more than he caught. Let's just put it that way. Current ADP, 14th round, 6th pick, wide receiver 61.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying somebody that you could get right at the end of your draft instead of, if you go get a defense in like the 12th or 13th round, this is a guy you could literally pick with your last pick and just sit and wait and watch what Dallas does with him. If they use him and they increase his role, great. If they don't, kick him to the side, go hit the waivers. So I do have him ranked as my wide receiver 51, and I put the note that he is a wait-and-see potential is the only reason why. So
I looked up Dak's numbers on the way in today.
Yeah.
And both years, he had 2 receivers that were, like, close in yards and touchdowns. It's not like he favored one guy. So that only benefits him here.
Right. But Allen Hurns is coming in. Everybody was all about, Allen Hurns is going to be the guy. He might be, but like I said, he's never been able to carry a giant amount of receptions and yards.
Well, he's never been the guy. Allen Robinson was always the guy there.
Right. So this is his true chance to be the guy. But you still got Cole Beasley's going to figure in somehow. I would be very surprised. I know that sounds bad, but I was already on the fence about Terrence Williams going into the season, and then this situation popped up. I would be very surprised if he's not traded or cut by week 2.
I was going to say, if he guys get suspended for 4 games, how long before they just cut him and Dez Bryant comes back?
Jeez. Could you?
No, they ain't bringing Dez back.
I think that they've made it very clear they don't want to come back and bring Dez
They've made
back.
it too public now.
Now is that a pride thing, or are you going to do what's best for your team thing?
Well, here's the thing: if they could somehow make an agreement to bring in Dez back to Dallas,
at least just for a 1-year deal.
If they could figure out a way, they've already got a cap hit for him, so why not?
That's all he wants.
But they could have renegotiated at the time.
That's my only thing. I guess that I keep. I wouldn't mind having Dez back and then bringing in Michael Gallup and Allen Hurns as your wide receivers and Cole Beasley figured in. But great. But the problem is, Dez Bryant was never even questioned about, hey, take a pay cut.
Right.
We want you to take a pay cut.
They were
nothing.
They were just ready to move on from Dez.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is because they owed him what? They're already on
8 or 9 this year.
They're already on the hook for what?
I think it was 8 this year. It was what dead cap space they
plus
hit.
whatever he was wanting on top of that.
Right. I personally, to me, watching the show with the Dallas Cowboys this last year, the writing was on the wall. I mean, I keep referring back to that, but no, and I think this is, I mean, I hate to say it for Dez, but the problem was that this video came out right in the time, this show came out right in the time frame when Dez was really hitting the ground running, trying to get in on a team, and the only team that really gave him anything of time of day was the Baltimore Ravens.
3-year, $21 million.
So I just think
should have signed that.
I just think that if you've got a team, whether it's a young or a veteran, I mean, you saw the attitude that Dez brings, the comments that he makes, the fact of how he carries himself.
Well, I think even before the show, you can see his sideline antics with Romo and Dak.
Right.
And I think all the teams know that. They know how he is.
Right.
And it's also production. You know, he led the league in drop passes.
Did he?
Yeah, I mean,
he did lead the league in something. Good for
I
him.
thought one of the Raider guys would for sure.
Well, no, that's what I thought
Cooper's
too.
got to be up there.
He was. He was. But yeah, Dez led the league. So I mean,
Wow.
he had 132 targets last year. That's a ton of targets.
That's a ton of targets, and like I said, with him 132, and I think Witten had 87. That's got to go somewhere. And here's the thing that. I mean, we were initially talking about Rico Gathers being potentially somebody to could come in.
Rico Gathers.
Thing is, Jason Garrett just said the other day that there is still a lot that Gathers has to understand and pick up, and he's still not transitioned fully into where they feel comfortable putting him out as a tight end one. The only other guy they got is Swaim, and he's not anything.
I mean, there's some notable free agents that are
Dalton
experienced.
Schultz or whatever, that guy that they drafted, the tight end. But I mean, that's about it. I mean, so it's got to go.
Gary Barnage.
There you go. Come on back to the NFL, please. So, oh well. I know. It's frustrating as a Cowboys fan to see you got such a good, talented player like Ezekiel Elliott. And don't get me wrong, Dak's not like elite status, but he is a game manager if he's given enough, whatever you want to call it. But
It's going to be interesting.
Even did you know?
Zeke is the LeBron of the Dallas Cowboys.
There you go.
He's carrying everybody else.
He is. I mean, Dak finished, quarterback, I think 11, even with the crappy.
Let's not make that comparison.
I'm just saying he's carrying his team.
Get you.
He's the only guy.
He's carrying the rock and his team. Come on. All right. That's all we got for today. We want to say thanks again to all of you for tuning in to today's show. Please check out our site, thehateful8ff.com, where you can check out the articles and apparel. Follow our personal accounts at jpickleTH8FF, at jblackburnTH8FF, and ftrimTH8FF. Don't forget to join the Average Joe Nation via our Patreon tab on the site, where you can sign up and pre-order the 2018 Draft Loadout. Finally, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thanks again for sending all the questions, and we appreciate it. And we're hoping that you guys it helps you guys out.
We love that.
I like the discussions with questions and being able to kind of think through and dissect it.
Yeah, I just like that we don't agree half the time. That's what makes it interesting.
It does.
Well, that's what makes for a good argument.
Truth.
Guess what, guys? 97 days till the season.
97 days.
Hey, this day's almost over.
It is. So, all right. Well, thanks again, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
One more time. There ain't no one like these three. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods talking about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate and to wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick, a favorite? Not so fast. He failed to tune into Hateful Eight. He's a chump finishing last.